What is up, everybody? Steve here. The high cost of Florida insurance is starting to have a devastating effect on the Florida housing market. I'm going to talk about a quick article, and also I'm going to talk about all the companies that are going through receivership as well as liquidation, as well as some things that you might be able to do to bring your cost of insurance down. Before we get to that, I've been looking around for another property, and I am making offers, even though I said I wasn't going to buy a property necessarily. But if the right deal came along, I would buy one. Anyway, I decided to make an offer on a property over on Fort Myers Beach, and we're pretty far apart. We're about $150,000 apart, and it probably just will not work out at this point in time. Maybe the seller will get more motivated as time progresses. Anyway, I have my insurance guy who I brought on this channel, and we did another video that talks more in detail about this. So if you want to hear from an expert in the field of Florida insurance, I'll link that video in the description below for you guys. But anyway, his name is Scott, and he basically gave me a quote on this house. Now, the wind and hurricane insurance was roughly about $9,500 a year, and flood was roughly about $4,500 a year. So the hold cost just for insurances was $14,000 a year. Now, this is a house across the street from the beach. It is on the water on a canal. So obviously insurance is going to be a lot higher because it's a barrier island and it's on the water. However, I had a similar house that I owned and I sold a couple years ago, regrettably. And anyway, the cost of insurance at that time, it was about 2 years ago, the hurricane wind insurance was $4,500 and the flood was $2,300. Now that's a total of $6,800. Now this house is very comparable in size, comparable in location. It was on a canal on the backwater across the street from the beach. Very comparable. So the new policy, today's policy, $14,000. And the policy on that one was $6,800. That's a $7,200 difference. Now, yes, this is having an effect on people's pocketbooks. And unfortunately, it's actually pricing people out of moving forward on properties that they're actually in contract on. And also, people are realizing that the high cost of insurance, even if they've owned the property for years and years, it's pricing people out and forcing some people to sell. So I anticipate we're going to see more inventory come to market just because the cost of insurance. Now, let's jump over to this article I have real quick. It says Florida is experiencing an exodus, but it's not from residents relocating. Rather, it's an exodus of home insurance companies. While this would be concerning in any state and at any time, is particularly worrisome in Florida ahead of the Atlantic hurricane season, which starts June 1st. This video is going to come out June 1st. And we're already seeing a big storm coming off of basically Mexico right now, and it's headed toward Florida. So we should see that storm here pretty much in the next 3 or 4 days. So keep an eye on that. Goes on to say Florida accounts for only 9% of the country's home insurance claims, but 79% of its insurance lawsuits. Again, Florida insurance, 9% of the country's home insurance claims, but 79% of its insurance lawsuits. And it goes on to say many of them are fraudulent. Because of the fraudulent lawsuits and high overall claim risk in Florida, insurance companies have faced 2 consecutive years with net underwriting losses of over $1 billion. Florida's property insurance market is in crisis as insurers grapple with out-of-control litigation costs and billions in losses from recent natural disasters. Home insurance options in Florida have become more and more limited, and consumers are facing dire consequences. Now, there's about 9 insurance companies that are forced into liquidation or receivership in Florida because they're insolvent. Before I go through those, I'm going to tell you exactly where to go to find out about your insurance company if you're in this situation, where you can find out the most updated information pertaining to your homeowner's insurance. And also, I'm going to talk about exactly how it works in terms of contractors suing these insurance companies in this fraudulent manner. So the first one is Global Liberty Insurance Company, Western General Insurance Company, Gulfstream Property and Casualty, American Capital Insurance Company, Bedivere Insurance Company, Windhaven National Insurance, another Windhaven National, Florida Specialty Insurance, Castle Point National Insurance, and I think St. John was another one as well, and I think they just keep adding to the list. So how does it work? So essentially what's going on is the big thing has been roofs. So basically what they're doing is they have teams of people that are going out and they're knocking on doors, they're mailing, and they're cold calling people in certain areas where they know a storm took place. And now these storms are not necessarily a hurricane, but they are a high wind storm. So they know geographically by map where these storms hit, and then they send these people in to knock on doors, call, mail, and basically claim that they can get a free roof. So once they're in the door of the homeowner, they say you can get a free roof, and most homeowners are like, heck, I could use a free roof. Why not? I don't have the money necessarily. Let's go for it. So what they do is they sign an assignment of benefits. So gives the contractor full right to basically file the claim on their behalf. Now, the caveat here is a lot of these contractors, their partners are attorneys. So they basically teamed up in this manner, because if not, then you have contractors hiring attorneys to do this kind of activity, and then it becomes very costly. Now, what they did was they merged together in a lot of these cases. Now, they filed the complaint, or the actual claim, and then the adjuster investigates. And let's say the adjuster comes out and they're like, dude, there's really not much damage here, and we're going to give you a small amount of money to fix this, or we're not going to give you any money. And then this is what happens. Basically, the insurance company has two choices. The first one is to basically pay in full the claim, which could be, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 for a roof, maybe even more, or they could fight it in terms of litigation. But if they litigate, then they're going to spend a lot of money in attorney fees to fight it. Meanwhile, again, the contractor usually has an attorney in-house as a partner, so it's a win-win situation for that entity. And now roofs is not the only one either, as we can see over here. And we heard on the radio, TV, everything else in the state of Florida. If you live in Florida, you probably heard a lot of the commercials, a lot by some of these big prominent attorneys as well. But we can see millions of property owners across the United States are at risk of costly cast iron pipes damage due to premature corrosion. If you're a homeowner facing property damage for faulty cast iron pipes, the insurance recovery lawyers can help you file a claim with your homeowner's insurance and secure compensation for replacement costs. Now, think about it. These cast iron pipes were used in like the 50s and the 60s, and they're old. And it's like, odds are you are not the original homeowner of that property back in the 60s. It probably passed through several hands of ownership. And then these attorneys are basically doing the same kind of thing, and they're going, a lot of these cast iron sewer lines, they are failing, and unfortunately that's just a cost of owning an old house. But man, they really figured out it's their rights, essentially, based on this kind of activity, to get compensated to basically replace all of these cast iron pipes. And it's unfortunate because it's causing the mess that we're in today. So what can you do if you're in this situation where you're looking to buy into the state of Florida, or maybe you currently own in the state of Florida? You can essentially replace your roof, do a full roof replacement. That'll bring down the cost of insurance in some cases. You could potentially do the third nail, which will basically help secure the roof to the framing and the foundation of the house. This way it doesn't uplift in a larger, say, Cat 4 hurricane. And And other people have been forced to sell their properties, and other people have been forced to sell and maybe move inland and not necessarily along the shoreline, because the closer you are to the shore, the more expensive insurance gets. And obviously, if you're on the water, in most cases, you're going to have flood insurance. So those are things that you can mitigate if you had to sell the property, unfortunately. As always, I highly recommend you guys talk to an insurance professional. I am not one. I'm just providing some details here. And again, I encourage you guys to take a look at that video that we did with the insurance expert, Scott, with Way Better Insurance here locally in Florida. If you guys have any questions, you guys can reach out to him as well. And I appreciate you guys being here today with me. Thanks a lot.